Welcome to the PMP Exam Prep Question Bank series. In this video, I've got 15 exam-style practice questions lined up for you, covering the kind of people, process, and business environment scenarios you'll see on the real PMP exam. Each question comes with the correct answer and a full explanation, including why the wrong options are wrong. Here's how to get the most out of this. When a question appears, pause the video, pick your answer, then hit play to check yourself. Ready? Let's dive in. Question 16. A schedule shows that a single specialized engineer is assigned to 2 parallel critical path activities in the same week, exceeding their availability. The project manager adjusts the schedule to resolve the over-allocation, which extends the project's end date. What technique was used? The correct answer is B, resource leveling. Resource leveling resolves over-allocation of a resource and can extend the critical path and the project's end date, which matches what happened. Now, why the other options are wrong? Resource smoothing is incorrect. Resource smoothing adjusts activities only within their available float and, by definition, does not change the project end date. But the end date changed here. Crashing is incorrect. Crashing adds resources to shorten a schedule. It doesn't resolve an over-allocation, and it moves the end date earlier, not later. Fast-tracking is incorrect. Fast-tracking overlaps activities that would normally be done in sequence to shorten the schedule. It doesn't address resource over-allocation. Question 17. At the end of a project, the project manager gathers the team to document what went well, what didn't, and recommendations for future projects. Where should this information be stored for organizational benefit? The correct answer is C, in the Organizational Process Assets Lessons Learned repository. Lessons learned belong in the organization's shared repository, so future project teams can benefit from them. This is standard practice for closing a project. Now, why the other options are wrong? In the project manager's personal notes only is incorrect. Keeping lessons learned in personal notes means the organization can't reuse them on future projects. Discarded once the final report is submitted is incorrect. Discarding lessons learned wastes valuable organizational knowledge that could prevent repeat mistakes on future projects. Shared verbally with the sponsor only is incorrect. A verbal-only handoff to one stakeholder isn't durable or accessible to future project teams across the organization. Question 18. A project uses a hybrid approach, predictive planning for hardware procurement with long lead times, and iterative sprints for software development. During integrated planning, what is the primary benefit of aligning the sprint cadence with key hardware milestones? The correct answer is C. It ensures software increments are ready to integrate with hardware deliveries, reducing idle time and rework. Aligning sprint cadence to hardware milestones is the core purpose of integrated hybrid planning. It makes sure software is ready exactly when hardware becomes available, minimizing wasted time and integration rework. Now, why the other options are wrong? It eliminates the need for a project schedule altogether is incorrect. Hybrid projects still need an integrated schedule that ties predictive and iterative work streams together. Alignment doesn't remove that need. It guarantees the software team never has to attend planning meetings is incorrect. Integrated planning across predictive and agile work streams typically requires more cross-team coordination, not less. It removes the need for risk management on the hardware side is incorrect. Long lead time procurement still carries its own risks that must be actively managed, regardless of sprint alignment. Question 19. A project operates within an organization that requires major decisions above a certain dollar threshold to be approved by a steering committee. This structure is an example of which concept? The correct answer is B, Project Governance Framework. Defined approval thresholds and decision-making bodies like a steering committee are core elements of a project governance framework. Now, why the other options are wrong. Risk management plan is incorrect. A risk management plan defines how risks are identified and handled. It doesn't define decision approval authority. Stakeholder register is incorrect. A stakeholder register lists and classifies stakeholders. It doesn't establish decision approval structures. Communications management plan is incorrect. A communications plan defines how and when information is shared, not who has authority to approve decisions. Question 20. A project delivering a new data storage system discovers mid-execution that a new data privacy regulation now applies to the project's deliverables. What should the project manager do first? The correct answer is A. Assess the regulation's impact on scope, schedule, and cost, and route needed changes through change control. The project manager should first understand the impact of the new requirement, then formally manage any resulting changes through integrated change control before implementing them. Now, why the other options are wrong. Ignore the regulation until the project is complete, then address compliance in operations is incorrect. Delivering a non-compliant product creates legal and rework risk. Compliance needs to be addressed within the project, not deferred to operations. Unilaterally halt the project without informing the sponsor is incorrect. Stopping the project without involving the sponsor bypasses proper governance and communication responsibilities. Delegate the entire compliance question to the legal department with no further PM involvement is incorrect. Legal input is valuable, but the project manager must still integrate the resulting requirements into scope, schedule, and cost, not disengage entirely. Question 21. A project will replace a widely used legacy system, and initial stakeholder feedback shows strong resistance from end users. Which action best supports successful organizational change adoption? The correct answer is D. Develop a change management plan, including communication, training, and user involvement throughout the transition. Structured change management, communicating early, training users, and involving them in the transition, is the recognized approach to overcoming resistance and driving adoption. Now, why the other options are wrong. Proceed with a hard cutover on the go-live date without additional communication is incorrect. A hard cutover with no additional communication ignores known resistance and typically increases adoption failure and support issues. Restrict information about the change until go-live to avoid resistance is incorrect. Withholding information tends to increase resistance and anxiety rather than reduce it, since rumors and uncertainty fill the gap. Delegate all change adoption activities to IT support after go-live is incorrect. Waiting until after go-live to address adoption is reactive. User involvement and training need to happen before and during the transition. Question 22. A project was approved based on a business case projecting a 20% reduction in processing time. 6 months after project closure, the organization has not measured whether this benefit was achieved. What governance gap does this represent? The correct answer is C. Missing benefits realization, post-implementation review process. Confirming that a project actually delivered the benefits stated in its business case is the purpose of a benefits realization or post-implementation review process, which is absent here. Now, why the other options are wrong. Missing risk management plan is incorrect. A risk management plan addresses uncertainty during the project, not whether promised business benefits were realized after closure. Missing communications plan is incorrect. A communications plan governs information flow during the project. It doesn't address measuring post-closure business outcomes. Missing procurement audit is incorrect. A procurement audit reviews vendor and contract compliance, not whether the project's projected business benefit was achieved. Question 23. A project team is evaluating how new tariffs on imported components might affect procurement costs and timelines. Which category of external factors does this analysis fall under? The correct answer is C. Economic and political external environment factors. Tariffs are a political and economic policy decision external to the organization, making them a classic external environment factor a project must account for. Now, why the other options are wrong? Internal organizational culture is incorrect. Tariffs are set by governments outside the organization. They are not an internal cultural factor. Team resource constraints is incorrect. Resource constraints relate to internal staffing and availability, not to external trade policy. Technical quality standards is incorrect. Quality standards define acceptable deliverable characteristics. They are unrelated to tariff-driven cost and timeline impacts. Question 24. After several sprints, a team notices recurring defects traced back to unclear acceptance criteria. Beyond fixing the current defects, what should the team do to support continuous improvement? The correct answer is D. Update the definition of done, acceptance criteria standards, and address the pattern in the next retrospective. Continuous improvement means addressing root causes, updating the team's standards for acceptance criteria, and discussing the pattern in retrospective prevents recurrence. Now, why the other options are wrong? Move on without further action since the defects were fixed is incorrect. Fixing only the immediate defects without addressing the root cause means the same pattern of defects is likely to recur in future sprints. Assign blame to the product owner for unclear criteria is incorrect. Assigning blame is not constructive and doesn't drive process improvement. The focus should be on fixing the process, not the person. Skip future retrospectives to save time is incorrect. Retrospectives are the primary mechanism for continuous improvement in agile teams. Skipping them removes the team's ability to systematically address recurring issues. Question 25. A project team begins using an AI tool to draft risk register entries and summarize status reports. During a governance review, the PMO raises concerns about accountability for AI-generated content. What is the most appropriate action for the project manager to take? The correct answer is A. Establish a review process where a qualified team member validates and takes accountability for AI-generated content before it's used for decisions. The project manager remains accountable for project outputs even when AI tools assist in producing them. A human validation step preserves the efficiency benefit while addressing the PMO's accountability concern. Now, why the other options are wrong? Discontinue all use of AI tools on the project to avoid any governance risk is incorrect. Banning AI tools outright is an overreaction that discards their efficiency benefits instead of managing the actual accountability concern with appropriate controls. Allow the AI tool's output to be used without human review, since it improves efficiency, is incorrect. Using AI output without review abdicates the accountability the PMO specifically raised as a concern. Escalate to the PMO to make all future risk and status decisions instead of the project team is incorrect. This is an unnecessary transfer of authority. With proper validation controls in place, the project team can retain its normal decision-making responsibilities. Question 26. A key stakeholder insists on a delivery date that the team assesses as unachievable without cutting quality checks. The project manager wants a resolution that preserves the relationship and the deliverables' integrity. Which negotiation approach is most appropriate? The correct answer is C. Focus on underlying interests, why the date matters, and explore options that satisfy both the business need and quality standards. Principled negotiation focuses on interests rather than positions, seeking options that satisfy both parties' underlying needs. Here, meeting the business driver behind the date without sacrificing quality. Now, why the other options are wrong. Concede to the stakeholder's date to avoid conflict is incorrect. Simply conceding avoids the negotiation entirely and accepts a date the team has already assessed as unachievable without compromising quality. Insist on the original schedule and refuse to discuss the requested date is incorrect. A rigid positional stance risks damaging the relationship and ignores the possibility of a mutually acceptable option. Let the stakeholder and the team negotiate directly without project manager involvement is incorrect. The project manager is responsible for facilitating this negotiation, not stepping away from it, especially when quality and schedule trade-offs are involved. Question 27. A team member has repeatedly interrupted colleagues during stand-ups despite the team's agreed ground rules. Other members are becoming visibly frustrated. What should the project manager do? The correct answer is B. Speak with the team member privately, reference the team's own ground rules, and ask for their commitment to follow them. Addressing the behavior privately, tying it back to the team's own agreed norms, and seeking their buy-in respects the individual while reinforcing accountability to the group's standards. Now, why the other options are wrong. Publicly call out the behavior during the next stand-up to correct it immediately is incorrect. Public correction in front of the team can embarrass the individual and escalate tension rather than resolve the behavior constructively. Remove ground rules from future meetings since they aren't being followed is incorrect. Removing the ground rules abandons a tool the team agreed to and doesn't address the specific behavior causing frustration. Ignore the behavior since ground rules are self-enforcing is incorrect. Ground rules do not enforce themselves. When they're repeatedly broken and affecting the team, the project manager needs to intervene. Question 28. A junior team member is struggling to apply a new tool the team recently adopted, slowing their task completion. A senior team member has offered to help. What is the best way for the project manager to support this situation? The correct answer is B. Facilitate a structured mentoring arrangement between the senior and junior member, with time set aside for it. Formalizing the mentoring relationship, including protected time, supports skill building and knowledge transfer while keeping the junior member engaged in the work. Now, why the other options are wrong. Reassign all of the junior member's tasks to the senior member is incorrect. Reassigning the work removes the learning opportunity and doesn't build the junior member's capability for future tasks. Tell the junior member to search for tutorials on their own time is incorrect. This offloads the problem onto the individual's personal time and ignores the senior member's offer to help directly. Document the performance issue and escalate to HR immediately is incorrect. A skills gap on a newly adopted tool is a coaching opportunity, not a performance issue requiring HR escalation as a first step. Question 29. A development team's progress is being slowed because IT support tickets for environment access routinely take a week to resolve. Applying servant leadership, what should the project manager do? The correct answer is A. Actively work to remove the impediment, such as escalating with IT leadership or establishing an expedited request path. Removing impediments that block the team's progress is a core servant leadership responsibility of the project manager. Now, why the other options are wrong. Tell the team to submit tickets earlier to compensate for the delay is incorrect. This treats the symptom, not the root cause, and still leaves the underlying blocker unaddressed. Have the team members personally follow up with IT individually each time is incorrect. This distributes an organizational blocker onto individual team members rather than the project manager addressing it systematically. Accept the delay as a fixed constraint and adjust the schedule permanently is incorrect. Accepting a recurring, addressable blocker without attempting to resolve it forfeits an opportunity to improve the team's throughput. Question 30. A performance review reveals that several team members lack proficiency in a reporting tool the project now requires. What should the project manager do first? The correct answer is A. Assess the specific skill gaps across the team and tailor a training plan to address them. A targeted training needs assessment ensures the resulting training addresses the actual gaps efficiently, rather than a one-size-fits-all approach. Now, why the other options are wrong? Immediately enroll the entire team in a generic training course is incorrect. Broad, generic training without first assessing specific gaps may waste time on skills some members already have. Reassign reporting tasks only to team members who already know the tool is incorrect. This avoids building broader team capability and creates a single point of dependency on a few individuals. Wait to see if team members pick up the tool in a long time is incorrect. Passively waiting risks continued quality or schedule issues on a requirement the team has already been found to lack proficiency in. And that's a wrap on this video. Nice work getting through those 15 questions. If this helped, you're going to want the complete set, all 1,080 exam-style questions, with full explanations across all 3 PMP domains, are available in my Udemy course, PMP Exam Prep 2026 ECO. 6 full practice exams, 1,080 questions. The link is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next video, where I'll walk you through 15 more questions. See you in the next video!